You know, we hear the word bombshell, and I think certainly it's true in this case.
Hi, congratulations. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you guys must be really, really busy, but
This blockbuster book, I've been reveling in your extracts. Very juicy stuff.
If there is one thing Tom Bower has mastered over the years, it isn't just investigation, it's patience. He doesn't rush, he doesn't shout, he doesn't throw accusations into the sunlight and hope they survive. He waits, he studies, he watches the room fill with tension, with whispers, with half-formed doubt. And only when everything is soaked in gasoline does he strike the match. That's how he's always worked. And this time, the timing wasn't accidental, it was surgical. What followed wasn't loud at first, it was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes powerful people uneasy because they know what comes next.
Up in California to spread wellness and love and sincerity have done the exact opposite. They have dumped on their family, dumped on...
According to this account, when Bower finally hinted at what he was holding, it wasn't just another controversy. It wasn't a rumor. It was a threat to the foundation itself. And Prince Harry didn't respond like someone innocent and unbothered. He reacted like someone trapped. Cornered. Within hours, panic set in. Legal threats flew behind closed doors. Messages were sent through intermediaries. Journalists were warned. Silence was demanded. Sue them. Stop it. Kill the story before it breathes. That reaction alone raised eyebrows, because confident men don't scramble. They don't lash out in private while smiling in public. They don't try to smother something unless they fear it can grow.
Says he interviewed more than 80 sources for the unofficial biography, But
Tom Bower didn't flinch. He didn't retreat. Instead, he signaled something far more dangerous than gossip. Evidence, not vibes, not anonymous whispers, documents, records, timelines, witnesses, the kind of material that doesn't need defending because it stands on its own. And then came the sentence that changed everything. This wasn't about rumors. This was about paternity. That word landed like an earthquake, because questioning the legitimacy of a royal child isn't tabloid fun. It's existential. Bloodlines, titles, inheritance, the one thing the monarchy cannot afford uncertainty about. And suddenly the stakes weren't personal. They were historic.
It's where I felt closest to my mother and sought solace after she died, and where I knew I had found a soul.
Harry's response, according to this telling, was immediate and explosive. Rage without direction. Phones thrown. Doors slammed. Advisors shut out. He demanded lawsuits, injunctions, retractions. But beneath the fury wasn't confidence. It was fear. Because if the claims were nonsense, there was one simple solution. One nuclear option that would end the entire story in seconds. A DNA test. And yet, no one offered it. Instead, what Bower claimed next was far more precise. He said the material he was preparing to release was tied to secret pregnancy records, unexplained travel, and an early connection between Meghan Markle and a Colombian businessman whose name had never surfaced publicly before. The internet, already restless, exploded into action. Flight logs resurfaced. Charity trips were re-examined, dates circled, screenshots resurrected, patterns formed. And whether true or not, they looked disturbingly coherent. Then came the witness. Not faceless, not anonymous. A man the public already knew. A man with nothing left to gain and everything to lose. Trevor Engelson, Meghan's first husband. The man erased from the fairy tale. The prologue no one wanted to read. Silent for years. Until now. Before Trevor even spoke, chaos erupted again. At exactly 12:40 a.m., West Coast time, when defenses are weakest and gossip spreads fastest, an anonymous X account appeared. No profile photo, no history. One post, one image, one sentence. Everyone thinks they know nothing at all. The photo was intimate, uncomfortably so. Meghan Markle in a luxury hotel hallway, angled toward a man who was very clearly not Prince Harry. Warm lighting, private space. His arm around her waist in a way that crossed from friendly into familiar. His build was wrong, his posture wrong, and his wrist unmistakable. A leather bracelet with a metal cross pendant. Internet sleuths matched it within minutes to a Colombian businessman seen briefly in promotional footage months earlier. The image went viral instantly. Zoomed, enhanced, compared, jewelry matched. The man wasn't tall and lanky like Harry. He was solid, athletic, confident, more power than protocol. And then the account vanished, scrubbed, too clean, too professional. But screenshots don't disappear. Right on cue, Tom Bower stepped forward. Calm, controlled, one short post. No hysteria. Some stories don't disappear when you delete them. They disappear when the truth is proven. This one hasn't been. Then the line that froze everything. The firstborn child may not belong to the man the public believes. No names, no accusations, just implications sharp enough to cut glass. Hours later, the announcement dropped. A new podcast series, weekly episodes, documents, witnesses, not spectacle, exposure, and still, no DNA test. Episode 1 dropped quietly. Tom's voice was measured, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. He described inconsistencies surrounding Archie's birth, medical gaps, sealed details, no hospital confirmations, no named doctors, no timestamps, only vague statements and controlled appearances that deviated sharply from royal precedent. Then he rewound the clock. A private California villa, phones banned, tech billionaires, Hollywood royalty, a host with private jets on standby, a charity trip to Colombia, and after the flight home, something left behind. A leather briefcase. Inside, according to Tom, a high-resolution print of the same hotel hallway photo, clear, undeniable. That's when the story darkened, because this wasn't gossip anymore. It was about what people were willing to hide, and why. As Harry listened, according to this account, the emotion shifted. Not anger, fear. Because if Tom was willing to release this much just to force a reaction, what was still being held back? Episode 2 changed the temperature entirely. No music, no hype, just Tom clearing his throat, and then a sentence that fell like a blade. Tonight, I'm not speaking to an anonymous source. I'm speaking to a man who lived this. Trevor Engelson's voice followed. Not bitter, not dramatic, just exhausted. He didn't start with accusations. He started with context. The marriage, the ambition, the shift in Meghan when doors opened, late nights, new contacts, growing secrecy, then the night at the hotel, the hallway, the smell of disinfectant, elevator doors closing. He hadn't planned to confront her. He wanted clarity. Instead, he saw a man exit the room she claimed she was alone in, an accent he didn't recognize, a man confident enough not to flinch, a man who belonged there. Trevor said Meghan didn't deny it. She reframed it. Networking, opportunity, something he wouldn't understand because he didn't think big enough. The affair wasn't emotional, it was strategic. And then the line that shattered listeners. She told me this was the kind of man who changes lives. The internet detonated, clips flooded platforms, reaction videos exploded, Reddit threads ballooned. One question drowned everything else out. If this is all lies, why not end it instantly? Again, the DNA test. Harry, according to this account, was unraveling. Not publicly, privately, watching comment sections, obsessing over timelines. Friends noticed his voice shaking, his temper snapping, and then the questions he'd never allowed himself to ask. Dates, doctors, why everything felt so controlled. When he finally said it out loud, why won't you just do the test? The room went cold. Meghan didn't cry. She didn't scream. She went still. Then she turned it on him. How dare you, after everything I've endured? You're siding with them, Harry shouted back. Not polished, not royal. This isn't about them. This is about me not knowing if my son is mine. That was the moment something broke. If you force this, she said, you destroy us. Not if you're right, if you force it. Outside, the noise grew louder. Anonymous palace staff, claims of unresolved documentation, Buckingham Palace silent, and silence did the most damage. By the time episode 3 was teased, the question had changed. Not, is this true, but what are they hiding? And somewhere inside a mansion built on sunshine and carefully curated narratives, Prince Harry sat alone realizing something terrifying. That everything he gave up might have been for a story he never verified. And once doubt takes root, it doesn't matter if it's justified. It destroys everything. The doubt didn't announce itself loudly. It crept in the way rot does, slow and silent, working beneath the surface while everything above still looks polished. According to this account, Harry stopped sleeping properly. Nights stretched endlessly, his mind looping the same questions again and again. Questions he had once dismissed as cruelty or conspiracy, but now refused to stay buried. He replayed conversations from years ago, moments that felt harmless at the time, but now glowed with a strange, uncomfortable clarity. Little pauses, redirected answers, decisions made too quickly, explanations offered too smoothly. What unsettled him most wasn't Tom Bower's calm voice or the internet's frenzy. It was how familiar some of it suddenly felt. The way things around Archie's birth had always been managed like a press operation instead of a medical event. The way details were always handled, never explained. The way curiosity was framed as betrayal. Love, in this version of the story, had always come with rules. In private, Harry began quietly asking people questions, not accusations, questions. Old staff, friends he trusted, doctors he remembered meeting only briefly. The answers, when they came at all, were vague. Memories fuzzy, records sealed. No one lied outright. They simply didn't know, or claimed not to. And that uncertainty gnawed at him far worse than any headline ever had. Meghan, according to this telling, sensed the shift immediately. Not because Harry told her, but because she knew him too well. He grew quieter, less reactive. He stopped defending automatically. He listened longer than she was comfortable with. And silence, for someone used to controlling the narrative, is terrifying. Every conversation felt like a negotiation. Every look felt like an assessment. She reminded him of everything they'd built together, the escape, the freedom, the life away from the palace. She framed the accusations as an attack not just on her, but on their love, their family, their mission. And for a while, that worked. It always had. Harry wanted to believe her, needed to believe her, because believing her meant the alternative wasn't real. But belief is fragile when it's built on fear. As episode 2 continued to circulate, the tone online shifted again. It was no longer just outrage or mockery, it was something colder. Analysis, slow, methodical breakdowns. People who weren't emotionally invested began lining up facts, not with malice, but with curiosity. And curiosity, once unleashed, doesn't stop just because someone asks nicely. Commentators pointed out how carefully Tom Bower avoided outright accusations, how every word was measured, how everything was framed as questions, documents, inconsistencies. That restraint made it harder to dismiss. Because reckless liars overreach, they embellish, they dramatize. Bower did the opposite. He left space, and in that space, the public filled in the gaps. Harry watched all of it, according to this account. Every clip, every reaction, every breakdown he claimed he wouldn't watch. He watched because he couldn't look away. Somewhere deep down, a part of him needed to know if the world was seeing something he had missed or ignored. The palace remained silent, again, and that silence, once a shield, now felt like an indictment. People speculated that Buckingham Palace knew more than it was saying, that there were reasons certain doors had closed quietly, that some questions had never been answered because answering them would open others that could never be shut again. Behind closed doors, the arguments grew sharper, less theatrical, more dangerous. Harry stopped asking why this was happening and started asking when. When did this begin? When did you meet him? When did things change? Meghan, according to this narrative, deflected without denying. She reframed without clarifying. She warned him about consequences, about optics, about what would happen if he let doubt win. And then there was that word again, test. It hung between them like a loaded weapon, not because of what it could prove, but because of what it would destroy. Not just reputations, not just headlines, but the story they had told themselves about who they were and why everything they sacrificed had been worth it. Outside their walls, belief had already taken hold, and belief doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't care about statements or lawyers or carefully worded denials. It spreads through feeling, through pattern recognition, through that instinctive sense that something doesn't quite line up. Tom Bower didn't need to push anymore. He had set the dominoes in motion. Each episode added pressure without adding spectacle. Each silence from the Sussex camp spoke louder than any rebuttal ever could. And still, the simplest solution remained untouched. In this telling, that was the moment Harry understood something devastating. That the truth, whatever it was, might not destroy him. But the waiting already was, because living with doubt meant living without solid ground. Every smile felt staged. Every memory felt altered. Even love began to feel conditional. The modern fairy tale didn't shatter all at once. It bled, slowly, quietly, and the world watched, not with glee, but with a strange collective breath held, waiting for the one answer that could end everything, or confirm what too many people had already begun to believe. And until that answer came, the silence would keep screaming. Silence.